Chapter 21, The Peak Leaderboard, Xie Antong's Intel. Open black lens bracket malfunction now available. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket during the rest period between games. Selected players can prepare in advance for what they want to buy. Items in the mall will help improve your performance in the game. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket friend system now available. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. All selected players can add friends, transfer funds, send gifts, and more. Of course, a handling fee will be charged based on the amount. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Stay tuned for future features such as co-op games. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket feature preview. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Since the start of the game, new players have been chosen every day. We look forward to seeing everyone become part of the game. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Now that 2 games have passed, many outstanding players have emerged. We believe they will eventually have it all. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. To help players better understand themselves and others, after the next game ends, we will launch the Peak Leaderboard. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The Peak Leaderboard will rank the top 100 players based on combat power, in-game performance, and the bonus items they own. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Those who make the list will receive future benefits, so we hope everyone participates and does their best in the next game. Close black lens bracket. The announcement ended, and the words echoed twice in everyone's minds, as if to stress the point. Lu Ce frowned slightly as he read the preview. The Peak Leaderboard. This kind of thing basically puts the top players right in the spotlight. It's only been 3 games, and he was probably already among the strongest group, but nowhere near invincible. Compared to some violent organizations, he was still far from having the confidence to survive a gun pointed at him. Still, if there are benefits, it might be worth it. I wonder if they'll reveal my real face or personal info. I'll deal with that when it happens. Since it wasn't something he could control, Lu Ce decided to set it aside for now. He was cautious, but not lacking in courage. Intentionally throwing the next game or refusing to participate just to avoid the leaderboard. Not a chance. If he could play it safe, he would, but growing stronger was the top priority. If trouble came, he'd deal with it head-on. With that thought, he pulled up the familiar screen in his mind and looked at the page. Open black lens bracket rest mode. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Before each game, you can choose to be a spectator or a player. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Of course, we believe the world welcomes players, and in the end, players will own the world. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Time until the next game, 47 hours 57 minutes and 43 seconds. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. This is God's challenge. Welcome to the chosen paradise. Close black lens bracket. Alongside the standard page, 2 new tabs had appeared, Friends and Mall. After getting familiar with the functions, Lu Ce opened his eyes in the dimly lit room. Sitting up, he checked his physical state. His body felt whole again. Perfect clearance came with a special reward, complete physical restoration. This was one of the clearest benefits of playing the game. In reality, the Chosen's healing effect was far more limited. He hopped twice in place. The first thing he felt was light. Incredibly light. If 10 points of strength had already broken past the human genetic limit, then 24 was way beyond his ability to control. He didn't know what the ancient martial arts masters meant by light as a swallow, but he believed in one saying: when you're strong enough, even bricks can fly. Right now, he was that brick. His legs felt like they had high-powered engines in them, ready to unleash terrifying bursts of force. In the game, he hadn't had legs for a while, so he never fully experienced it. Now, he realized he'd need time to adapt to controlling this power. If Zhang Dao provoked him again, he might actually hesitate, because one hit might kill the guy. And killing someone in real life, well, that was a whole different problem. The game experience, plus the influence of the greedy mask, had left him with some unsettling tendencies. He'd need to reel himself back to normal. Opening his phone, the first trending headline that hit his eyes made his heart skip a beat. The chosen game really can kill you. Figures, Lucy thought. It was only in the second game that chosen paradise truly bared its fangs. People were now realizing the brutal reality behind it. Of the people who'd entered with him, 5 had died right before his eyes, one by his own hand. The rest didn't achieve a perfect clearance and didn't get the kind of healing he had. Returning to the real world missing a leg. That was their fate. The weight of it sank into his chest. A world shaken on this level wasn't going to settle down anytime soon. The government should ban chosen paradise. No one should be allowed to participate. What exactly is chosen paradise, supernatural power or a scam? Hospitals everywhere are seeing a sudden surge in patients. What's the official explanation? The trending list was filled with fear now, not excitement like before. Some extreme titles and videos vanished seconds after he refreshed the page, clearly the invisible hand of heavy censorship at work, deleting anything that might stir panic. But Lucy knew it couldn't be stopped forever. He sighed, turned off his phone, and headed for school. The bell had already rung, but the classroom was still buzzing like a marketplace, with no one bothering to maintain order. Teenagers at this age seemed to have endless energy. It was baffling. But this time, Lucy didn't bother listening to what they were talking about. Their discussions, fears, and guesses about the game, he had lived all of it himself. Without realizing it, he had already drifted a little apart from the others. Game's over. Did you watch it? Or, did you play? A voice came right at his ear, warm breath brushing his skin, pulling him out of his thoughts. He turned to see Xie Antong leaning in close without him noticing, speaking right next to him. Though he'd never admitted it, her tone all but confirmed she knew he was one of the chosen players. What is it? He asked, sidestepping the question. If you cleared it, congrats, you got lucky. If you were just watching, I'm sure you still saw plenty. Her expression was a bit serious as she pulled out her phone, speaking in a low voice. This time, I gathered as much intel as I could. Chosen paradise is no joke. Some of the games are so brutal they push past human limits. They call them hell mode for a reason. They really are hell. And already, there are players out there who are insanely strong. Look at this video. Like a thief passing contraband, she slid the phone under the desk toward him. Lucy's left eyelid twitched hard. Chapter 22, It's a Small World. How do I rate myself? Urgent. 1/2. I opened my phone to the familiar sight of the crimson hellscape. The video playing was, well, let's just say I knew it intimately. Lava. Saws. 10 bound players. Me. I fought back a grimace. Words failed me. Was the world really this small? Before the lava consumes the platform, you must find a way to escape. You mean, by sawing off our legs? Hey, it wouldn't be the first time someone's had to saw off a limb. Did you guys even pay for the rights to saw? What's the prize for getting the saw first? Quote. Listening to the game master's voice, then my own digitized dialogue, I was practically digging my toes into the floor in embarrassment. What could I even say? I watched the video of myself playing for a few minutes. And Tong, sitting next to me, observed my expression and spoke. Saw the leg off. Saw, not chop. If it were someone without training, I doubt they'd have the resolve. They'd just accept death and give up hope. But look at this guy. By this point, I was watching my digital self casually sawing through my leg. Wearing the greed mask at the time, I hadn't thought anything of it. Now, watching it in a normal state of mind, it was pretty disturbing. Trying to play it cool, I asked, why didn't he saw off the leg that was chained? And Tong nodded. That's when I first thought maybe he was just a bit off. But watching the rest, I realized just how terrifying he really is. Keep watching. This is the edited version. I cut out everything except the key moments. She dragged the progress bar, shielding her phone, and started explaining various things to me. But my skin was already crawling. Hearing her analyze me to my face was a surreal, full-body cringe experience. Finally, after an eternity, the video ended. My face was stiff. Honestly, from an outsider's perspective, I could finally see how insane my performance in the last game was. It'd be impossible for it not to attract attention. So, yeah, that's about it, Antong said, exhaling and closing her phone. The awe on her face was unmistakable. No matter how many times she watched it, the shock remained. She saw my wooden expression and mistook it for stunned silence. So, what do you think? What the hell was I supposed to think? How do you rate yourself? Asking for a friend. Urgent. Pretty impressive, right? Really remarkable. I'd guess he got a perfect clear. I forced out a bit of self-praise. Chapter 22, It's a Small World. How do I rate myself? Urgent. 2 halves. Just, pretty impressive. This is insane. Antong was practically frantic at my nonchalance. The intellect, the skill, someone like this could disrupt the entire social order. We had a feeling this was coming, but not this quickly. Her words made me squirm. Disrupt the social order. It's not that serious. The only real power he displayed was superhuman strength, right? That level of combat ability can't really disrupt the social order. This is just the beginning. She insisted. Power will only escalate, and who knows how many people like him are out there. The Eden Games changed the world overnight, drastically and irreversibly. The future won't be controlled by politicians or billionaires, but by top-tier players. Just like the Eden Games announcement said, players will eventually inherit this world. Me, you recorded this video yourself, right? I asked. Did you upload it? Is it online anywhere? Antong shook her head. No, my family has connections. We get wind of online activity early. I saw a few uploads of this video in the backend, but they were quickly scrubbed. It's not just because it's gruesome, it's because someone in a position of power has noticed this player. Top-tier players are strategic assets. Governments, agencies, all sorts of organizations are keeping tabs. The friend system just opened up, so team-based games are probably coming. Just watch, all kinds of strange factions will be popping up soon. Antong continued, and I gathered her family background wasn't simple. I didn't pry, but it was clear I was already on the radar of several entities. I wondered how long the sin mask would keep me hidden. So, we've talked enough. Time for some honesty. I told you I'm a chosen, didn't I? She flashed a sly grin. Leaning close, she whispered, You're a player, aren't you? Knowing you, you didn't listen to me and jumped into the game. I subtly shifted away. The classroom was noisy, no one was paying attention to us. Did she really have to get this close? Having someone breathe in your ear is incredibly ticklish. Yeah, I admitted. What difficulty was your game? I forgot to check. We had casualties, but most people survived. Casualties. She flinched, then looked me over. Well, at least you're lucky to be alive. Yours must have been normal or hard difficulty. Based on what I've gathered, the Eden Games have 4 difficulties: normal, hard, nightmare, and hell. I listened intently. While I'd experienced a hell game firsthand, being in it had blinded me to the bigger picture. I knew next to nothing about other players or the overall game structure. Tell me more, I urged. What criteria do you use for these judgments? And what's the rough distribution of each difficulty? Chapter 23, Campus Riot, Heaven and Earth Society 1/2. Xie Antong nodded. Gaining trust was crucial, especially in the early stages of the game. She saw no reason to hide information from Lucie. The ratio of the 4 difficulty levels, it's hard to say. I can't give you an exact number. But obviously, the harder the level, the smaller the percentage. Most games are normal or hard. Even normal isn't a walk in the park. Once you get to hard, casualties become more frequent. As for nightmare and hell, they're exactly what they sound like. Those aren't games or challenges anymore, they're about survival. By this point, Xie Antong's voice was barely a whisper, her face pale. After all, she was just a high school senior, used to a comfortable life. She'd never faced life or death situations before. Oh, right, there are also different game types. Within the same difficulty, there's a huge variety of games. But there are duplicates. Each game probably has multiple copies, played by different people. Like the video I showed you. I saw 10 other players in the same game. I didn't finish watching. In that instance, there weren't any top-tier players like Masked Man. Everyone seemed pretty average. I'm afraid, none of them survived. Xie Antong swallowed, the image chilling her to the bone. So, God's Paradise is largely a game of luck. If you get chosen for a hell-level game, you're pretty much dead. The players in Masked Man's game got lucky. But a game this brutal and real is bound to create some top-tier players, people who will change the world. Lu Ce listened, nodding. He wasn't too concerned about the danger. He figured the harder the game, the better the reward. Everyone had an equal chance to play, so for the best players, higher difficulty was actually a good thing. He hoped for a hell-level game. It would be extremely beneficial. His initial game had been hell-level, if he had to categorize it. Xie Antong suddenly changed the subject, looking at Lu Ce. I'm guessing you've already played a game. The fact that you came out unscathed, mentally unchanged, means you're not just anyone. But be honest with yourself. If you were thrown into a hell game, told to saw off your own leg with a rusty saw, could you handle it? Lu Ce. That's why you need to be prepared, to have the right mindset going in. Chapter 23, Campus Riot, Heaven and Earth Society 2 halves. Ideally, get a quit coin beforehand. You lose everything, but at least you keep your life. Seeing Lu Ce remain silent, Xie Antong continued, offering her advice. A good start was essential. She needed to start thinking about entering the game herself. Why are you telling me all this? Lu Ce suddenly frowned, sighing. What do you want from me? If she knew he was ranked first, it would make sense for her to try and recruit him. But she didn't seem to know. This rich girl was just giving him this information for free, probably because of her prior curiosity about him. Xie Antong blinked, a flash of annoyance in her eyes. She looked down, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks. This guy. Were there really men in this world who only thought about transactions when a girl was showing goodwill? Because God's Paradise is changing the world. Organizations, official and underground, are going to start popping up everywhere. Even small personal groups. With the collapse of order, there will be suspicion, conflict, and people preying on each other. It's important to find allies early, before things get completely out of control, while trust is still possible. Me. Lu Ce was dumbfounded. Find an ally in a high school student. That's a bit much, isn't it? You must have a well-off family. Can't you connect with some powerful people, some influential groups? Two high schoolers talking about alliances, it's a little childish. Xie Antong shook her head. In this system, special forces soldiers aren't necessarily better than street thugs, especially in the beginning. It's relatively fair while everyone is still figuring things out. Besides, my gut tells me you're not ordinary. Zhu Yuanzhang started as a beggar and became emperor. I don't think our conversation is childish or unrealistic. Did all those self-proclaimed rational and wise people predict God's paradise? Do they know how to deal with it? I want to work with you. If you're interested, I hope we can have a fruitful partnership. Xie Antong extended her hand toward Lu Ce. Lu Ce stared at her outstretched hand, slightly stunned. He felt she was being truthful, but not entirely. Suddenly, the school loudspeakers blared. Students in the east wing of the academic building, please evacuate quickly and in an orderly fashion. Avoid gathering and do not remain in your classrooms. Lu Ce and Xie Antong exchanged glances, their hearts skipping a beat. East wing. That was where they were. Forgetting about the handshake, Lu Ce hopped onto the windowsill to see what was happening outside. The classroom had been so chaotic that he hadn't heard anything. A massive explosion rocked the building, drowning out all other noise. It sounded like a load-bearing wall being demolished. A booming, inhuman voice roared across the campus. The world belongs to the Heaven and Earth Society. Chapter 24, Targeted, No Way Out 1/2. Heaven and Earth Society. Leaning against the window, Lu Ce listened to the distant shouts, his lips twitching involuntarily. He'd just been discussing organizations and factions with Xie Antong, and now one had appeared. And it didn't make sense. Wasn't the Heaven and Earth Society a Ming-Qing dynasty organization, also known as the Triads? Why was it popping up now? Lu Ce had a strong feeling this was connected to God's Paradise. Maybe it was an organization specifically targeting the game. After the startling roar, the voice continued. The sun and moon revolve, cycles repeat. God's chosen arrive, the world unites. The world belongs to the Heaven and Earth Society. Lucy. Hearing this, Lucy knew he was right. This organization was definitely focused on God's paradise. The sun and moon revolve. The voice roared the same phrases repeatedly, like a broken record. Lucy was getting bored. Along with the shouting came the screams of students and the sounds of smashing and crashing. Walls collapsed, furniture flew through the air. Who knew how many were injured? Lucy's senses were exceptionally sharp. Judging by the sounds, the commotion was on the floor below, the classrooms there already in chaos. But Lucy wasn't planning to get involved. He was just curious why the school would let someone like that in. They weren't here anyway. Time to leave. Boom. Asterisk. As Lucy thought this, an explosion ripped through the air. A giant hammer smashed through the corridor floor outside the classroom, sending debris and dust flying. A moment later, a ragged figure, muscles unnaturally bulging, over 6 feet tall, jumped through the hole. Standing amidst the dust, the figure looked up, locking eyes with Lucy at the window. The two stared at each other. Lucy. Damn, his luck was terrible. He'd just been thinking he wouldn't run into anything. Lucy quickly looked away, jumping down from the windowsill and returning to his seat amidst the panicked classroom. That one glance was enough for him to memorize the figure's appearance and features. Muscles stretched to the point of tearing, clearly beyond normal human limits. Bloodshot eyes, devoid of reason. Wearing a tattered school uniform, strained by the bulging muscles, further ripped and torn from the fighting. Carrying a massive hammer with a head over a foot in diameter, made of some unknown metal. One hit from that would kill or cripple a normal person. Lucy had a pretty good idea. This guy was a student, and definitely a player. He just didn't know why he was like this. What was that? Xie Antong asked, watching Lucy return. Probably a player, gone berserk for some reason. Seems to be promoting some organization, Lucy replied. Let's go. Xie Antong didn't waste any time, grabbing Lucy's arm and pulling him toward the door. She'd seen enough in 2 games to know the threat powerful players posed to ordinary people. Chapter 24, Targeted, No Way Out 2 halves. Several classrooms in the East Wing were in complete chaos, students scrambling to escape, more excited than terrified. As soon as they stepped out, they saw the giant standing there, seemingly dazed. Holy crap, Lu Peng. Someone in the crowd recognized him, apparently quite well. They walked towards the stunned, seemingly mindless giant. You played the game, right? What happened to you? You look awesome. The giant didn't even glance at them. With a casual backhand, he sent the approaching student flying like a rag doll, 8 feet through the air. The student landed unconscious. The crowd scattered in terror, creating a clear space around the giant. The sun and moon revolve, cycles repeat. Ignoring everyone, the giant continued shouting his slogan, the sound painful to the ears. He swung the massive hammer, smashing a classroom wall to pieces. For some reason, Lucy couldn't help but think, 80. The giant didn't pursue the fleeing students. After about 30 seconds, when most had escaped, he suddenly turned, bloodshot eyes scanning the remaining crowd. And locked onto Lucy. Lucy, are you kidding me? Asterisk. Why are you always staring at me? Can't you look at someone else? Lucy averted his gaze, already forming an assessment of the giant's strength. Much weaker than me. Suddenly, the giant's eyes widened. He charged towards Lucy, his massive body creating a rush of wind. The remaining students screamed and scattered. Lucy and Xie Antong joined the fleeing crowd. The giant stopped, swung his hammer, and sent it hurtling towards the group. Lucy's brow twitched. He had a feeling this was directed at him. Instinctively, he slowed his pace, deciding to try and take the hit with his shoulder to see how much suffering it would generate. Get out of the way. Xie Antong yanked his arm, using her body weight to pull him aside just as the hammer slammed down. What are you doing? Run. Are you that slow? Lucy looked at her in surprise, then back at the charging giant. He was definitely being targeted. If he stayed with the crowd, he'd be putting others in danger and making it obvious he was the target. After a moment's thought, Lu Ce looked at the scattering students. And then at Xie Antong, who was urging him to flee. Thanks. He pushed her towards the crowd, then stumbled, separating himself from the group. Alone, he was an easy target. The enraged giant lumbered towards him. Chasing and being chased, they moved away from the crowd, reaching a relatively open landing at the end of the hallway. Lu Ce's back hit the wall. He turned calmly, facing the panting giant. There was no way out now. Chapter 25, Unusual Communication, Frozen in Fear. 1/2. Lu Ce exhaled, turning to face the mindless giant. Giant he might be, but Lu Ce felt no sense of intimidation. The giant's strength seemed far inferior to his own. He seemed more like a pawn, sent by someone else to make a statement. But why him? Had he been exposed? If even Xie Antong couldn't tell the difference between his in-game and real-world self, Lu Ce doubted he'd be exposed so quickly. There was clearly something he didn't understand. Lu Ce rotated his wrist, feeling the explosive power in his body, and muttered under his breath. Why are you asking for it? Out of this entire school, you picked the one person who could crush you. The only real problem was the commotion this mini-Hulk was causing. This was going to be all over the news. If he got involved and took the guy down, it might be difficult to extricate himself from the situation. Aren't you going to say anything? Just gonna stand there? Confidence stemming from his overwhelming strength, Lu Ce was completely relaxed. He turned and addressed the giant. The sun and moon revolve, cycles repeat. I didn't mean that. Lu Ce sighed. The giant was clearly out of his mind, likely being controlled. Which meant the Heaven and Earth Society was behind this. Teachers and students crowded the hallway and stairwell about 15 feet away, anxiously watching. Many held up their phones, recording the scene despite their fear. Seeing Lu Ce cornered by the giant, everyone assumed he was in mortal danger. Run, man. Are you just gonna stand there and die? Don't move. Don't provoke him. Quote. A cacophony of contradictory shouts and unhelpful advice filled the air. In the corner, the school dean was frantically making calls. Xie Antong watched Lu Ce with concern. She sensed he had deliberately separated himself from the group, but she wasn't sure he could handle this. Even if he'd cleared games, was that enough? Lu Ce took in the scene. Suddenly, a man in a red uniform, different from the others, pushed through the crowd. He looked sharp and capable. The dean immediately rushed over to him, as if finding a lifeline. Then, Lu Ce heard a voice in his ear. Don't be afraid. Stay calm. Don't anger him. My name is Zhao Jiacheng. I'm with the authorities. Lu Ce. The voice wasn't coming from the crowd. It was directly in his ear, like some kind of telepathy. Special abilities, a player. That was Lu Ce's immediate thought. He looked up at the man in the red uniform. It was definitely him. Seeing Lu Ce's gaze, the man made an "okay" sign with his hand and continued, his voice again in Lu Ce's ear. Chapter 25, Unusual Communication, Frozen in Fear. 2/2. Don't worry, I'll help you. Just don't provoke him, and don't run. I'll get you out of this safely. Just relax. Zhao Jiacheng wasn't actually confident, but he had to reassure the student. He was afraid Lu Ce would panic. Okay, no problem, Lu Ce replied. Zhao Jiacheng could transmit his voice, but Lu Ce couldn't. He spoke aloud, also giving Zhao Jiacheng an "okay" sign. The teachers and students turned and stared suspiciously at Zhao Jiacheng, who broke out in a cold sweat. Dude, why did you say that out loud? I told you to relax, not that much. Your life is still in danger. The games had just begun, and Zhao Jiacheng was inexperienced with these situations. Fortunately, the crazed giant, Zhao Peng, was too far gone to notice anything amiss. Zhao Jiacheng forced a smile and began to negotiate. Lu Peng, is it? Can you hear me? We'd like you to calm down. Tell us what you want, what your grievances are. Lu Ce rolled his eyes. This classic movie cop negotiation tactic was useless. The guy was clearly insane. The sun and moon revolve, cycles repeat. The giant continued his mantra. God's chosen arrive, the world unites. I didn't say it couldn't unite. Why are you telling me this? Lu Ce said impatiently. The world belongs to the Heaven and Earth Society. Sure, it belongs to them. I'm not arguing. So what's your point? Lu Ce attempted to reason with the madman. The sun and moon revolve. Clearly, reasoning with a madman was pointless. The giant was still on repeat. Zhao Jiacheng's attempts at negotiation were going nowhere. Seeing the two in the center seemingly chatting, he grew increasingly anxious. Dude, do you have any idea how serious this is? Don't provoke him. Zhao Jiacheng transmitted to Lu Ce again. But Lu Ce was done waiting. There was no point. It was time to test the giant. The Heaven and Earth Society is trash. Zhao Peng's head snapped up, red eyes blazing, his murderous intent locking onto Lu Ce. Okay, so it definitely is that Heaven and Earth Society controlling him, Lu Ce thought. No. The moment Lu Ce spoke, Zhao Jiacheng shouted, but it was too late. With an explosive burst of speed, the giant charged, like a runaway train. Lu Ce stood motionless, seemingly frozen in fear. Zhao Jiacheng lunged forward, but he knew he was too late. It's over. As the giant's massive form loomed over him, Lu Ce looked up, a glint of disdain in his eyes. He shifted his weight slightly, dodging the giant's clumsy attack. His left hand shot out, thumb and forefinger clamping down on the giant's jaw. Crack. Asterisk. Chapter 26, Instant Kill. A business card 1/2. Silence the world, and hear the bone shatter. But it was between Lu Ce's two fingers. The giant's jaw was instantly crushed, the joint dislocated, silencing any further roars or pronouncements. Buddy, you're not exactly conscious, so I'm not gonna hold back. Asterisk 10 suffering points. Asterisk. He'd actually held back considerably. A full-force attack would have shattered the giant's skull, not just his jaw. Boom. Asterisk. Lu Ce guided the giant's momentum with his fingers, slamming him headfirst into the wall behind him. Lu Ce sidestepped, dodging the impact. Crack, crack. Bricks and mortar exploded outwards. It was hard to tell whether it was the giant's own force or Lu Ce's added push that caused such devastation. A spiderweb of cracks spread across the wall, threatening to collapse. Beyond the wall was open campus. Zhao Peng, the giant, lay slumped on the ground, head twisted at an unnatural angle. From the moment the giant charged to the moment he hit the wall, barely a second had passed. And Lu Ce had acted while the giant's body shielded him from view, moving with lightning speed. Zhao Jiacheng, still frozen mid-stride, stared at the scene, speechless. His gaze flickered between Lu Ce and the unconscious giant, struggling to process what he'd just witnessed. From his perspective, Lu Ce had taunted the giant charged, and Lu Ce stood still. Then, there was a blur, and now the giant was down. The stark contrast between the intense tension moments before and the current, eerie calm was unsettling. He'd been so worried, picturing gruesome outcomes as he ran to help. And now, nothing. Not just him. Everyone who had watched the giant charge, expecting carnage, now stood in stunned silence. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. Zhao Jiacheng frowned, looking Lu Ce up and down. He seemed completely unharmed. He ran into the wall himself. Don't try to pin it on me. I'm not liable, right? Lu Ce said quickly. Zhao Jiacheng. That's what you're worried about. Zhao Jiacheng felt a headache coming on. This kid's thought process was unusual. Are you okay? Does emotional distress count? I suffered severe emotional trauma. Can I file for compensation? Lu Ce asked earnestly. Zhao Jiacheng. Never mind. Just glad you're all right. But in the future, try not to play the hero. I heard you decided to lure this maniac away to protect your classmates. You need to be more careful. Lu Ce. What? No, Before he could explain, a commotion erupted behind him, cheers rising from the crowd. Chapter 26, Instant Kill. A business card 2/2. Awesome. What reflexes. Like an F1 driver. So calm under pressure, man. A flurry of camera flashes, video uploads, and praises filled the air. The dean rushed over, fussing over Lu Ce. If a student had died today, his career would have been in jeopardy. The crowd even started clapping, making Lu Ce feel like a matador after a successful bullfight. It was a fitting analogy. The bull had been knocked out. Zhao Jiacheng, seeing the students crowding around, yelled for order. Finally, some teachers stepped in to control the situation. A few more people in uniforms arrived, these ones blue. They gathered around the unconscious Zhao Peng, seemingly examining him. Lu Xi brushed off the dean's concerns, assuring him repeatedly that he didn't need to go to the hospital, then slipped away into the crowd. Zhao Jiacheng watched him go, frowning. Suddenly, he called out. Wait. He pulled a gold business card from his uniform pocket. Lu Xi turned back. Zhao Jiacheng offered him the card. Here's my card. Take it. I have a lot to deal with right now. They're about to cordon off the area, so I don't have time to talk. But if you think you should contact me, then contact me. He emphasized the words, you should, looking intently at Lu Xi. Lu Xi took the card without looking at it and slipped it into his pocket, murmuring a polite acknowledgement before quickly leaving. Zhao Jiacheng didn't say anything more, turning back to his colleagues to deal with the aftermath. Are you okay? Xie Antong approached, whispering. Lu Xi nodded. Relieved he was safe, she looked at him curiously. Why had he seemed so confident? Did he have that much faith in his abilities? Had he gained some agility-based power in the game? And why had that thing seemed so fixated on him? She tucked these questions away, planning to ask him later. Ellipsis. As the students were dispersed and the area secured, the special agents continued their work. As dusk fell, Zhao Jiacheng sighed, replaying the events of the day in his mind. It had all happened so fast. He was still a little dazed. A high school student, so calm and collected under pressure, those reflexes. And he didn't seem afraid at all. The student had made quite an impression. There were only two types of people who didn't panic in situations like that: fools who didn't grasp the danger and those who knew they could handle it. Captain Zhao, we've finished the preliminary investigation. A woman in a blue uniform approached, holding some files. The injuries are a little odd. Besides the fractured skull from hitting the wall, his jaw seems to have been pulverized. Chapter 27, Game 3, Hell Mode, Devil's Hospital. 1/2. Zhao Jiacheng, lost in thought, snapped back to attention, startling the woman in front of him. A shattered jaw. From the impact. The blue uniformed clerk replied, holding a stack of reports. We're not sure. That's why it seems odd. His skull is fractured too, which makes sense. The angle of impact lines up. But the jaw shouldn't have been hit at that angle. Maybe there was some kind of friction, or perhaps it was a pre-existing injury. He's out of danger now. His name is Lu Peng, and we've confirmed he's a God's Paradise player. Zhao Jiacheng interrupted her. Hold on. He frowned, taking the X-rays from her and studying them closely. The clerk was puzzled. She didn't understand his sudden interest in the injuries. This jaw fracture is more severe than the skull fracture. And at the time, this student had enhanced strength, enough to break through a wall. The skull is tougher, but this discrepancy is still strange. Any ideas what might have caused it? Zhao Jiacheng asked, recalling the scene from earlier. The sun and moon revolve. The giant had clearly been mindless, repeating those same phrases. Constant repetition meant the jaw couldn't have been broken earlier. It had to have happened during the impact. Maybe friction from the wall. He did go straight through it, the clerk ventured, assuming Zhao Jiacheng was concerned about the extent of the injuries. Zhao Jiacheng. Maybe. He didn't argue, but his mind kept replaying the scene, the student's unusual behavior. Ellipsis. Time flew by. The weekend arrived after the incident, giving the school time to enhance security. Lu Xi lay in bed, waiting for the next game. He'd been a little nervous, wondering if that strange organization or the giant student's family would come looking for him. But nothing happened. Time until next game, 0 hours 58 minutes and 43 seconds. 1 hour left. He was on the phone with Xie Antong, discussing the game. Xie Antong, I don't know how you did that yesterday, but you're clearly strong. Still, this game is dangerous. I strongly suggest you buy a quit coin before playing. Lu Xi texted back, got it. Are you playing this time? Yeah. Her reply was short. Let's play separately for now. We can add each other as friends later. Also, a heads up, The game gives you standard clothes, but I heard your underwear carries over from the real world. So, you might want to see if you can bring other things in. Lucy was surprised by this new piece of intel. He wondered what kind of connections his classmate had. It was nice to have resources. Unlike him, who had to resort to other methods. He thanked her, filed away the information, and lay on his bed, thinking. Chapter 27, Game 3, Hell Mode, Devil's Hospital. Two halves. He wondered if Xie Antong was truly trustworthy. If they were going to cooperate, he'd have to tell her about his rank. But her family was clearly influential. Could he really rely on trust alone? Lost in thought, he pulled a gold business card from his uniform pocket. Zhao Jiacheng's card, the one he was supposed to call, if he thought he should. He glanced at the unfamiliar agency name, then at Zhao Jiacheng's contact information. After a moment's consideration, he tucked the card into his underwear. Sorry, Mr. Zhao, keep my little buddy company for a bit. It was perfect for Xie Antong's suggested experiment. He didn't have anything else suitable on hand. The size was just right. He took a deep breath, checked his backpack, making sure his achievements and medical supplies were ready, and waited for the voice he'd been anticipating. For some reason, it always stirred a thrill of excitement within him. Please make your preparations. Choose, spectator or player. Player. Welcome, player. You have a short time to prepare. Game points, 12,400. Suffering, 6. Strength, 24. Agility, 10. Speed, 10. Luck, 3. Spirit, 1. Bonus achievements, Godslayer, System Hacker. Ellipsis. Game initialized. Commencing. Welcome to God's Paradise. The familiar dizziness and disorientation hit him, but he was getting used to it. Like coming home, he opened his eyes to a dark, empty room. The air was damp and musty, suggesting poor hygiene. He shifted his weight, feeling solid ground beneath his feet. No dangling this time. He was slightly disappointed. This wasn't as exciting as the last game. At least then he'd had the opportunity to saw off a leg. He touched his face. His mask was already in place, a perfect fit. There were a few other players around. Before he could observe them, a voice he found very pleasing echoed through the room. Welcome, players, to the Hell Mode game, Devil's Hospital. As the mechanical voice spoke, the whirring of gears and treads grew louder. A tracked robot emerged from the shadows. The other players paled, their faces grim. They were no longer newbies. They knew the horrors of Hell Mode. How unlucky to get this on their second game. But beneath his mask, Lucy smiled. Hell Mode. Now this was like coming home. Chapter 28, The Gluttony Mask, Are You Sure You're Okay? 1/2. Hell Mode should make it easy to rack up suffering. This was his third Hell level game in a row. His luck was truly something. Hey, he chuckled involuntarily. A normal person would probably break under this kind of pressure. Greetings, esteemed players. I am your host for this game. You may call me the Great Tom. Welcome to Devil's Hospital, or, if you prefer, you may call it a prison. Lucy looked at the rusty robot and asked, Tom. Are you the same voice from the previous games? The Great Tom. Watch your language, boy. Lucy considered the voice. It did sound familiar, but he didn't want to argue over pointless titles. He didn't reply, instead checking his livestream for any useful information from the viewers. Started. Skipped class just to watch the boss's perspective. I quit my job to watch this. Once I learn his secrets, I'm quitting this crappy job and joining the game. High stakes game this time. Just checked, all 5 players have cleared previous games. No newbies. And besides him, that foreigner also has a perfect clear record. This is gonna be good. Wait, am I in the right place? His mask is a different color this time. Lucy scanned the comments. His viewership was growing rapidly. The constant attention was unsettling, but it had its advantages. Like knowing everyone's background almost instantly. High stakes, huh? This time the other players might be tougher. Wait, mask color. Reminded by the comment, Lucy glanced at the robot, catching a glimpse of his reflection in its dented metal plating. A red mask. Red, gluttony. Personality influence. Amplified greed focused on appetite, mental instability, insatiable hunger, able to consume anything. All disgusting things become delicacies. Benefits: incredible digestion. Everything consumed is converted into energy, negating all negative effects. Side effects: the more and the more harmful the consumption, the greater the mental instability and energy buildup. This energy is not fully under your control and can cause the body to explode if not released. Lucy winced. This was a big one. The greed mask had normal and overload modes, and the normal mode hadn't been too disruptive. But gluttony had no such option. It was the only one of the 7 deadly sins masks without different modes. Lust and gluttony were the 2 sins with the strongest mental effects. But the benefits were insane, practically game-breaking in the early stages. Chapter 28, The Gluttony Mask. Are you sure you're okay? 2 halves. Worthy of an S-rank sealed artifact. Extreme risk, extreme reward, just like the game itself. At least for now, he felt no mental effects. Now, I presume none of you are new to this. I suggest you get acquainted with each other, share your abilities, perhaps. After all, you are both partners and competitors. What do you mean? The foreigner spoke. From the comments, Lucy knew he was a player with a perfect clear record. Precisely what I said. Familiarize yourselves. The red lights on the robot flickered. It whirred and clanked its way towards the door. So what's the task in this game? Patience. And address me as the Great Tom. The robot seemed offended by the player's lack of respect. It left without turning back. Once the door closed, the 5 players were alone in the damp, musty room. The atmosphere was tense, heavy with the weight of hell mode. The foreigner frowned. What was the purpose of that robot coming here? He didn't say anything. Fuck. Maybe he was just here to be a mirror, Lucy said, touching his mask. By the way, does our international friend understand Chinese? Why not speak it then? The robot had spoken in Chinese. Or had it somehow translated for the foreigner? The foreigner paused, raising an eyebrow thoughtfully. I don't want to, he replied casually. Lucy ignored him. The silence returned. 5 players, none of them newbies. This is getting interesting. Asterisk. They all look like they've swallowed something nasty, but at least they're not freaking out about hell mode. That's something. Asterisk. The foreigner is acting all arrogant. He clearly understands Chinese but refuses to speak it. He's trying too hard to be some brooding movie star. Asterisk. Big dude on the left, looks strong but probably useless. At least he's easy to remember. We can just call him Big Guy. Asterisk. A woman who keeps looking everyone over. Probably trouble. Hopefully, she drops some good loot. Asterisk. And then there's Mr. Flashy over on the right. 6 foot something, decked out in red with some floral pattern while everyone else is in the standard game clothes. Asterisk. Ellipsis. Silence. The man in red, whom Lucy had mentally labeled Mr. Flashy, turned stiffly, his lips twitching. Dude, couldn't you just, keep those thoughts to yourself? Why narrate everything out loud? Are you sure you're okay? Asterisk. And I'm not flashy. It's the organization's uniform. Asterisk. Chapter 29, One of Us. Which department? 1/2. Mr. Flashy's lips twitched uncontrollably. The other 3 players stared at Lucy, dumbfounded. Dude, are you serious? This was a tense, deadly hell mode game, and he was acting like a commentator. They'd been trying to process the grim atmosphere, and his running commentary had completely thrown them off. Mr. Flashy sighed, looking Lucy up and down, not knowing what to say. He was actually judging them. Everyone else looked normal. He was the one wearing a bright red mask that kept shifting and glowing. Was that his in-game reward? Just as bizarre as he was. Huh, did I say that out loud? No way. Do you have telepathy or something? Lucy touched his lips in mock surprise, feeling the cold surface of his mask. You definitely did, Mr. Flashy said, immediately regretting it. Why was he arguing with this lunatic? He's contagious. Asterisk. Seeing everyone's expressions, Lucy realized it was true. The gluttony mask's mental instability was definitely active. He'd have to make a conscious effort to control it. Well, whatever. Every game needs a narrator. Helps you guys understand how you're perceived. No one wants to know how you perceive us. Asterisk. HMPH, I've heard of old people losing control of their bowels, but never their mouths, big guy sneered, staying true to his persona. Silence fell again. Everyone continued sizing each other up, just not as vocally as Lucy. Ahem. Mr. Flashy broke the silence. My name is Ju Tien. That's my real name, not a nickname. And I'm not Mr. Flashy. I think, given that we're in a hell mode game, we should try to get past any unnecessary animosity. In the grand scheme of things, we're all human. We're on the same side. And right now, we need to understand each other's abilities. It'll help us in the game. Most of us are Chinese, right? I'm with the official organization. You can trust me. Ju Tien spoke calmly, trying to establish a sense of unity. His background dictated this approach. In a crisis, unity was crucial, especially when there was no pre-existing conflict. I don't think so, the foreigner said. We don't even know the purpose of this game yet. But you can call me Kirk. That's my name. The woman, who hadn't spoken until now, looked at Ju Tien. Hello. I appreciate your honesty. But that robot also said we're both collaborators and competitors. It's hard to build trust under those circumstances. HMPH, official. Big guy scoffed. The game's only been around for a few days. There's already an official organization. You people just get in the way. You'd be doing us all a favor by staying out of it. Just messing things up. Big guy clearly had a temper. But Lucy knew this was likely a manifestation of fear and tension. He was dealing with the pressure of hell mode through aggression. Seeing his attempts at unity failing, Ju Tien sighed. He'd anticipated this. He turned to Lucy, waiting for his input. Chapter 29, One of Us. Which department? Two halves. He'd been watching his livestream. His support team had briefed him on Lucy's situation. He was supposed to be a highly skilled player. Lucy considered Ju Tien's expectant gaze. After a moment, he replied, Are you sure I can't call you Mr. Flashy? Ju Tien. This kid. If you don't know what to call me, you can just make up a nickname. That's not the point. Asterisk. Just as the conversation reached an impasse, the voice echoed through the room again. The same mechanical voice, but this time without the robot. Words appeared on the wall as it spoke. God's Paradise, Hell Mode, Devil's Hospital. Basic objective. Survive. Survival until the main objective is completed constitutes a successful clear. Main objective. Find the source of the disease, identify the most afflicted individual, and resolve the crisis they represent. Players who complete the main objective will receive bonus rewards based on performance and contribution. Devil's Hospital welcomes all patients. Countdown. 5 minutes. Game commencing. 0 hours 5 minutes and 0 seconds. The brief explanation ended abruptly. It was as if the robot had handled the small talk, and now it was down to business. The players' faces were grim. Hell mode, and the basic objective was simply to survive. They were all experienced players, which was fortunate. Newbies would be terrified. Ju Tien realized cooperation was unlikely. And the objective was vague. What disease? How would they determine who was most afflicted? Just surviving until the end was enough to win. Someone could easily coast, letting others do the work while they hid. How would that work? Everyone fell silent, checking their backpacks and supplies, preparing for the unknown. Oh, right, Lucy muttered. In the tense silence, even his quiet words drew everyone's attention. The man in the red mask reached into his pants, in a rather inappropriate area. Seriously, dude, in public, asterisk, is the mask making you lose all sense of decency? Think you can do whatever you want because your face is covered, asterisk. Ju Tien facepalmed, messaging his support team. Are you sure about his profile? This is the highly skilled player. Before he could finish, his expression changed. He stared as Lucy pulled something from his pants. A gold business card. Ju Tien recognized that custom design instantly. He visibly relaxed, striding over to Lucy like a long-lost friend. Leaning in, he whispered, One of us. Good cover, man. Which department are you with? Chapter 30, Patient Sedative Meal, You Gonna Scarf That Down. 1/2. Lucy saw the other person approaching and instinctively flipped his wrist, hiding the card in his hand underneath. He gave the newcomer a wary glance. Cut the crap, we're on the same side. Time's running out. Which department are you from? Me. Lucy tilted his head slightly in thought. I'm from the senior high department. Ju Tian. What the hell, senior high department? What are you babbling about? What are you even talking about? Ju Tian was dumbfounded. With only 3 minutes left, he felt a growing sense of unease. Why was his colleague acting like this? Did he seem that untrustworthy? Sure, they might be from different corners of the country, but they were part of the same official organization. Couldn't he afford a little trust? Dude, hurry up. I saw your ID card. My name's Ju Tian, from K City, Zhonghai Province. I didn't bring mine. Besides, do we really need that formality? Look at my clothes. He tugged at the red fabric of his outfit. Why aren't you wearing one? Just a red mask. Your regional regulations are pretty unique, huh? Right, you should have our people monitoring your livestream, right? Just have them check me out. Lucy realized the guy was probably misunderstanding something and continued his charade. You look pretty old. Can you really be in the same department as me? Still in high school. Are you the dean of students? Ju Tian clenched. His fists clenched. How could this guy be so disorganized and undisciplined? Open black lens bracket. Ju Tian, according to our organization's records, there are indeed players who have perfectly cleared the game. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, there's no record of anyone with that kind of mask. Try to communicate more with him. Close black lens bracket. In Ju Tian's livestream, the staff reminded him. Ju Tian suppressed the urge to punch someone and said in a low, cold voice, "Comrade, I don't know what your plan is. But you mentioned the color of my clothes and deliberately showed your ID. It's obvious you were trying to get my attention. Do you have something you want to say?" Lucy scratched his head. Speaking of which, I'm kind of hungry. Weird. Who asked you? Ju Tian turned his head away, leaving behind a, "You'd better watch out for yourself," before deciding to ignore him altogether. "See ya later, pal," he said to the staff in the livestream. Quickly find out where this guy belongs. Isn't this insane? This is a hell-level game, how can he be so flippant? Open black lens bracket. Attention all players, it is recommended that you leave this room quickly before the time runs out. Close black lens bracket. By now, the countdown timer had reached 1 minute. The door had opened, revealing a pitch-black corridor that seemed to lead into an abyss. No one wanted to disobey the announcement. In hell mode, instant death could occur at any moment. Kirk, the foreigner, was the first to step out, his back radiating an air of arrogance. The bulky man glared at his retreating figure with annoyance. Such a show-off. He then followed suit. Ju Tian and the woman followed closely behind, leaving the room. True to form, Lucy stepped out at the last second and then poked his head back in, wanting to see what would happen. Slam. The door slammed shut, smacking Lucy right in the face. The mask even left an imprint on the door. Ju Tian, who had been keeping an eye on his colleague, turned his head away. He felt like he was losing it. Chapter 30. Patient sedative meal. You gonna scarf that down? 2 halves. Beyond the closed door lay a long, curved corridor. It stretched into darkness, disappearing from sight after about 100 meters, veering leftward. Lining both sides of the corridor were large, evenly spaced metal doors, each dark and silent, like cages holding ferocious beasts. The entire corridor was eerily quiet. Presumably, these doors were where the patients resided. Ju Tian ran his hand along the curve of the wall, estimating the distance ahead as he strode forward. Before getting down to business, he wanted to get a clear picture of the terrain and the basic building structure. No stairs up or down. It should be a single-story building, though I wouldn't rule out hidden doors. Based on this curvature, it might be a circular structure. His voice echoed through the silent space. He held nothing back, sharing his thoughts with the others. Just then, the game's voice rang out once more. Open black lens bracket. Breakfast time. 30 minutes. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Mealtime is mission time. During this period, players must enter a patient's room, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If you leave, return to the room as soon as possible. Lingering in the corridor for too long will lead to unpleasant consequences. Close black lens bracket. Clang, clang. Following the announcement, a food tray dropped out from a compartment beneath each door, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. Instantly, a nauseating, putrid stench filled the air. Under the dim strip lighting, each tray held a large can of viscous, unidentifiable goo. If not explicitly stated, you'd be hard-pressed to believe it was meant for consumption. Its contents were indiscernible, though bone fragments and membranes were vaguely visible. Next to the can sat a small dish with a few white pills. A message on the tray read, "The patient's mental state is unstable. Mixing sedatives into their food may facilitate communication." Judging by this so-called hospital, it seems to primarily deal with mental issues, Zhu Tian muttered. Damn, the bulky man cursed. They call this food. Anyone would lose their mind eating this crap. Gross. Lu Ce looked at the stuff on the ground. Why did it seem so appetizing to him? The gluttony mask maximized his appetite, overriding all rational judgment. Red warning lights flashed, urging the players to enter the patient rooms quickly. Without time to think, Lu Ce grabbed a tray and entered a random room. The room's environment contrasted sharply with the corridor. It was filthy, the walls stained with grime and blood. However, the room was brightly lit, as if in perpetual daylight. In the corner crouched a gaunt, skeletal figure resembling a ghoul. Bound by handcuffs and shackles, the man shot Lu Ce a hateful glare the moment he entered, fixated on the tray in his hand. Chow time, I think it's breakfast, though I can't quite recall. A delicacy, my friend. Look at you, so skinny, practically skin and bones. You want some? The room was bare. Lu Ce glanced around, walked to the center, set the tray down, and sat cross-legged on the floor. Want some? The patient rasped, his voice full of malice. Of course I don't want any. Newbie, a delicacy. If it's so delicious, why don't you eat it? Don't get cocky. Before he could finish, Lu Ce's eyes lit up. Really? Thanks. He grabbed the can of unknown substance and started chugging it down. The patient. Chapter 31, A Whirlwind of Consumption, and a Variable in the Hell Game 1/2. Clang, clang, clang. Asterisk. A crack appeared on the mask as the contents of the large can poured in, as if into a bottomless pit. You'll be the same. The man finally finished his sentence, completely stunned. In the blink of an eye, half the can's contents were gone. Holding the remaining half, Lu Ce politely asked, "Are you sure you don't want any?" Without waiting for a reply, he continued, "Okay, thanks." He then tilted his head back and kept chugging. In less than a minute, the entire can was empty. This way of eating was completely inhuman. Simply put, Lu Ce's current eating habits were a superpower, a manifestation of something beyond the ordinary. To be honest, when Lu Ce first picked up the can, he felt hesitant. Though the gluttony mask influenced him to perceive the contents as the most delicious thing ever, his rational mind told him it might not be edible. But since he wanted to experience the mask's power, and considering the pain value, Lu Ce decided to go for it. Old Eight's a secret special mini burgers. But the moment it entered his stomach, Lu Ce lost control. Heavenly deliciousness. Asterisk. He had never tasted anything so good. It wasn't just stimulating his taste buds, it was directly stimulating his brain. He couldn't stop. After finishing the can, a wave of comfort washed over him, a warm sensation enveloping his entire body, like being in paradise. At the same time, he felt no fullness, and his hunger intensified. A powerful appetite consumed him. Lu Ce felt full of energy, craving more food. The viewers and staff of the relevant organizations who had been watching Lu Ce were dumbfounded. Asterisk asterisk. Wait, what? Huh? Asterisk asterisk. What does this mean? Is this part of the mission? I don't get it. Asterisk asterisk. Any experts here to explain? Where's that blank guy? Tell us what's going on. Asterisk asterisk. Compared to this, the other psycha's behavior seems totally normal. Asterisk asterisk. I've heard that this guy's behavior is different. Analysts from various organizations were scratching their heads, unable to figure out what was happening. But the reason was clear from the start: Lucy was hungry. The patient gulped, looking at the masked man, feeling his mind go blank. You're not staff, are you a patient too? Lucy sat comfortably on the ground, deciding to lower his guard. He chose to let go of control over his appetite, completely indulging it while keeping his mind focused on the mission. Delicious. You guys are living the life here. The man's lips twitched. Is he mocking me? After a moment of mental confusion, he let out a cold laugh, looking at the plate beside him with the pills on it. His eyes became fierce again as he glared at Lucy. So you're dropping the act. No one cared what they ate. The so-called meal was just a way to force-feed them medication. They used to pretend, but this lunatic, was he planning to just feed him the pills directly? Pointing at the pills, the patient asked, "What do you mean?" "Oh, sorry." Lucy glanced at the pills and apologized. He then picked up the plate, flipped it, and poured everything into his mouth. No chewing required, it went straight down. Waste not, want not. The guy across from him was actually pretty thoughtful to remind him. After finishing, the famished Lucy rubbed his stomach and looked at the chained man across from him. "Are you full, skinny?" "Skinny patient, huh, plus. What did I eat?" "Didn't you eat everything? When did I eat your food?" Lucy asked, confused. Degree. It was as if what happened just seconds ago never existed. Blatantly lying. Patient. Huh. He held his head in his hands, replaying the events, comparing them to Lucy's sincere tone. He seriously suspected that his mental problems were getting worse. Yeah, how could the staff eat something so disgusting and nauseating? Could it be that he was hallucinating while eating now? Could it be that I was the one eating just now? The patient muttered, his eyes glazing over. No, huh. What's going on? He's messing with the guy's head. I get it. He's brainwashing the guy into doubting himself, making it easier to interrogate him later. Genius. The livestream viewers seemed to understand now, praising him once again. Chapter 31, A Whirlwind of Consumption, and a Variable in the Hell Game. 2 halves. No, my meds. Suddenly, the skinny man's eyes turned bloodshot as he lunged towards Lucy. Clank. The chains restrained him mid-air, just a few feet from Lucy, yet a world away. Where are my meds? You ate my meds, what am I supposed to take? The man who previously rejected the medication was now out of control, like a ferocious ghost. His skinny body revealed wiry muscles and countless scars. The chains strained under the pressure, his strength was clearly beyond human. What meds? I don't know what you're talking about. Lucy appeared remarkably composed, unfazed. I get it, buddy, you must still be hungry. Don't worry, I won't let you starve. This place doesn't give you nearly enough to eat. I'll help you. Look how skinny you are, you're practically wasting away. He patted the now frenzied man's head and dashed out, looking eager. The patient was left alone in the room, alternating between frenzy and calmness, howling and rolling on the floor. Lucy ran out and along the circular corridor. At the entrance of each cell was the same disgusting meal and pills. What did I come out here for? Lucy's mind was slightly muddled. Let's eat first, whatever. He immediately started devouring everything in sight. Whenever the hospital prompted him to enter a patient's room, he quickly ran back. The skinny patient was numb. This guy said he was going to find food, so why did he keep coming back to eat more? Where's my food, dude? Except for the food each player initially brought into their rooms, Lucy had cleaned out every last bit of the Devil's Hospital's breakfast. It was worth noting that Kirk, after examining his food and thinking for a moment, didn't take it and went straight into his room. So, Chapter 32, Where's the food? Kirk is stunned. 1/2. So, the food Kirk intentionally left outside ended up in Lucy's stomach. Passing by Kirk's door, Lucy noticed it was slightly ajar. But he didn't pay much attention. What game? Who was Kirk? He'd already forgotten. Eating was all that mattered. Asterisk asterisk, the foreign dude is in danger. Asterisk asterisk, I just checked Kirk's livestream. He's pretty sharp. He left the food outside on purpose, he had a plan. Asterisk asterisk, I'm kinda looking forward to his reaction. Inside, while Lucy was on his eating rampage, Kirk was using his ability to subtly manipulate his patient. Kirk, a proud American, and he had reason to be. A former CIA criminal profiler, expert in negotiation and psychoanalysis, honorary professor at Harvard University, recipient of numerous awards in the field of criminal investigation. With his impressive background, after his newbie mission, he'd researched a ton of classified information, recognizing the importance of the game and achieving perfect clearance in his first try. And now, he was a player with superpowers. Mental interference. In terms of superpowers, he was even ahead of Lucy. With his background and his current ability, Kirk believed extracting information from a few mental patients wouldn't be a problem. How many years have you been here? Kirk spoke, surprisingly fluent in Mandarin. The game wouldn't create language barriers, but he chose to speak Chinese. I don't remember. 3 years. 30 years. Ah. Kirk frowned, using his power to influence the patient's mind while asking questions. Through subtle manipulation and simple, non-threatening questions, he had essentially gained control. He now knew the patient's name was Long Lu, that he talked about his mother, kept mentioning some kind of mission, and craved fish-fragrant pork. Especially the fish-fragrant pork, which the patient repeated numerous times for some reason. So, what do you think your illness is? Kirk asked. I'm not sick, I'm not sick. Long Lu shook his head frantically, as if having a seizure. Kirk felt his control slipping. Okay, sir, we believe you. So, who here do you think is truly sick? Meds, no, meds. Long Lu drooled, becoming delirious and harder to control. Kirk sighed, realizing he couldn't continue, and decided to retreat temporarily. All right, rest for a bit. I'll go get you some food, your favorite fish-fragrant pork. I'll bring it right back. He stood up and walked out, intending to get the food and pills. He hadn't wanted to do this. He felt the food and medication might trigger a negative reaction, considering the patient's likely trauma from years of confinement. But his mental influence wasn't enough anymore, he had to resort to the meds. He had, however, steered the patient's consciousness into a rhythm he could control. He was confident he could make that disgusting mess seem like fish-fragrant pork to the patient. Fish-fragrant pork seemed to be the patient's obsession. Once he satisfied that obsession, got him to take the meds, and gained full control, extracting information about the game would be a piece of cake. Hell mode, nothing more than a spooky facade. The other Chinese players probably weren't making as much progress. He didn't care if others were slacking. His goal was perfect clearance. In his eyes, there was no cooperation, only competition between players. Whoever cracked the game first would gain the most benefits, snowballing into greater power later on. Hell mode wouldn't scare him. Chapter 32, Where's the Food? Kirk is stunned, 2 halves. With this in mind, Kirk stepped out, hands in his pockets, a slight smirk playing on his lips, the Western equivalent of a smugly confident dragon. He looked outside. The tray was empty. Where's the food? Asterisk. Kirk froze. This was the first time something had happened outside his control in this game. Where was the food? Why was there only a plate left? Not only was the food gone, but the meds were missing too. Subconsciously, Kirk glanced at the doors of other rooms. There were so many rooms, only 5 players, and so much food left. He looked left and right, his body stiffening. Gone. All gone. Where did all the food go? What the FK? He cursed under his breath, bewildered. Did uneaten food outside the rooms disappear in this game? The initial game announcement hadn't mentioned anything like that. And why was the plate still there if the food was gone? Asterisk asterisk. Ha 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 ha. I almost feel bad for the guy. Asterisk asterisk. Imagine, your teammate is the biggest problem, and no matter how brilliant you are, you'd never guess they ate all the food. Asterisk asterisk. Poor Kirk. Kirk's livestream chat was filled with, ha 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 ha. Confused, Kirk returned to his room, his confidence shaken. He looked up again, his eye twitching. Long Lu was no longer the docile fool from before. His eyes were bloodshot and full of malice, the chains rattling as he strained against them. Scratches appeared on the walls and floor. The power he displayed was clearly superhuman, making Kirk's teeth ache. He felt like the patient could break free any second and finish him off. "Where's the fish-fragrant pork?" "Just a moment. The chef is still preparing the fish-fragrant pork. It's to ensure the best possible flavor for you, don't worry." Kirk forced himself to stay calm, trying to placate the patient. "I'll go urge them to hurry." He quickly shut the door and left again. While Kirk was reeling, Lucy had reached the end of the circular corridor, where Tom was parked in an open room. ***, have you made any discoveries, dear player?" The familiar mechanical voice sounded as the robot turned to face Lucy. "Do you have any more food?" ***. Tom seemed to short-circuit, momentarily speechless. "You smell delicious," Lucy continued, but didn't make any further moves. As the red light warning approached, he walked back to his room. After a few steps, he bumped into Kirk, who was venturing out to investigate, checking each room along the corridor, still in disbelief. Right in front of Kirk, Lucy picked up a can and chugged it down, as if afraid Kirk might try to snatch it. Kirk. Chapter 33, A Sudden Clarity, Just Kidding, Bro. 1/2. Watching the red-masked man approach, witnessing Lucy's actions, Kirk felt his brain short-circuit. Was he hallucinating? Was his mental interference backfiring? As Lucy downed another can of the strange concoction in the blink of an eye, Kirk forced himself to process the scene, eyes wide, jaw slightly agape. A meeting of the ages. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying. I've been switching between their perspectives. Honestly, they've turned this terrifying atmosphere into a comedy. It's funny, but I have no idea how they're supposed to complete the mission. This is hell mode. What are you doing? Kirk stared at Lucy in disbelief, forgetting his national pride and asking in Chinese. Eating. Isn't it mealtime? Lucy replied matter-of-factly. Do you have any more food? Kirk opened and closed his mouth, speechless. He couldn't comprehend what Lucy was doing. He tried to use his mental interference, but Lucy's mind was already such a chaotic mess that it had no effect. It was like trying to pollute a mud puddle with a single drop of ink. He even felt a backlash the moment he used his ability, his face paling slightly. Kirk looked at Lucy with apprehension, thinking, could this guy be experiencing something? Has he already suffered mental damage in this hellish game? In that brief exchange of glances, Kirk considered 1,000 possibilities, while Lucy's mind raced through 10,000 different international cuisines. Suddenly, a glint in the corner of his eye caught the small plate in Lucy's right hand. There were 6 pills on it. Without thinking, he blurted out, "Give me the medicine." Lucy yawned. "What gibberish are you speaking? I don't understand. Give me the pills in your hand." "What pills? These aren't pills, this is my breakfast." All right, it's breakfast. Can I have your breakfast, please?" Kirk started to coax him, realizing Lucy was likely mentally unstable and adopting a communication style accordingly. "Why would I give you my breakfast? Are you begging?" Lucy retorted, a displeased expression appearing on his mask. Kirk. Right, why would he give me his food? Wait, why am I even thinking about this? He shook his head vigorously, trying to regain his composure. This hell mode game was proving to be quite challenging. He spoke patiently to Lucy, "Because I'm a poor, hungry man, and I need your help. For the love of all that is holy, please, kind sir." In his desperation, Kirk's English accent slipped out. "If you're hungry, eat. You can't eat pills as a meal, you nutcase." Lucy replied, then picked up the plate, flipped it, and swallowed the 6 pills. Kirk. Wasn't I just going along with what you said? Now I'm the nutcase. Seeing Lucy consume the last of the pills, his heart sank. It was over. How did a perfectly good game turn into this? A complete and utter idiot teammate. Couldn't this game be designed for solo play? The red warning light flashed, forcing them back to their rooms. Kirk's eyes turned cold as he looked at Lucy's retreating figure. He said quietly, "If you still have a bit of sanity, use the exit coin. At least your life can be saved." Lucy didn't turn back, seemingly unaware the words were directed at him, and hurried back to his room. Chapter 33, A Sudden Clarity. Just kidding, bro. 2 halves. Back in his room, Kirk's entire body tensed. Long Lu was writhing on the floor, like a malevolent spirit. He clawed at his scars, smearing blood everywhere. He was even tearing chunks out of the stone floor with his bare hands. What the hell was this thing? Asterisk. The calmness in Kirk's eyes slowly turned to apprehension. He didn't dare speak, staying close to the door. Meds, meds. Where's my fish-fragrant pork? Faced with the clearly deranged ramblings, Kirk gulped and began to negotiate. The food is still being prepared. Back with Lucy, he had returned to his room, facing his own skinny, monkey-like patient. His situation was similar to Kirk's. The patient, deprived of food, was rolling around like some kind of alien, on the verge of transforming. But Lucy showed no fear. He strolled over to the patient, sat down beside him, and asked casually, "Ah, what a satisfying breakfast. Feeling full now? You didn't bring me anything." Asterisk. If the patient could still speak coherently, he would have screamed this into Lucy's ear. But he could only make incoherent noises. RRR, RRR. You will be like me. You'll become just like me. He roared, the chains taut, his fingers slashing down like knives, leaving a deep gash on Lucy's shoulder. Blood flowed freely, but Lucy didn't react, just sat there against the wall, muttering, "Ah, seems like you're still hungry." "Yeah, me too. I'm not full either." Patient. He was losing it, flailing his limbs, inflicting more wounds on Lucy. Asterisk asterisk. Chosen of pain. Pain value +1. Asterisk asterisk. Chosen of pain. Pain value +1. Lucy remained unresponsive, allowing the assault to continue as if he didn't even notice. "All right, breakfast is over. What did you need me for?" Lucy turned to the ghoulish face and asked. Patient. O_O. Shouldn't you be the one asking me? Perhaps Lucy's chaotic mind made him seem even crazier than the patient, prompting a response. "Ah, so hungry, but also kind of overate." Lucy rubbed his stomach and stood up. "Buddy, this position is getting uncomfortable. You called me over here for help, right?" He grabbed the patient's incoming arm. The hand that could tear through brick and stone was now completely immobilized in Lucy's grip. Red light flashed. From his backpack, Lucy pulled out his razor-sharp gluttony mask side effect. Consumed energy doesn't belong to the user. Reaching a certain limit without release can lead to explosive death. Time to release some energy. Rarg. The patient, wrist caught, roared like a beast. The next second, red light flashed. 24 strength, tripled by razor sharp, amplified by the gluttony mask's energy release. Snap. Asterisk. The chains, strong enough to restrain a dinosaur, snapped apart. The patient's howling stopped abruptly. He stared at the broken chains that had bound him for who knew how long. His crazed, chaotic eyes seemed to clear. The hand that had been clawing at Lucy went still. What just happened? Asterisk. Chapter 34, Breakfast is over, and nobody got their meds. 1/2. The patient stared at the broken chains, frozen as if petrified. His back pain vanished, his legs stopped aching, and his psychosis seemed cured. The man who moments ago had been trying to kill Lucy was gone. "Dude, I was just messing with you, don't take it personally." Asterisk. Asterisk asterisk. Holy crap. What just happened? Asterisk asterisk. Here we go, peak superhuman strength. This guy's last game blew my mind. Asterisk asterisk. He could have just gone on a rampage, but no, he had to blend in perfectly with the lunatics. Asterisk asterisk. Honestly, I heard about this guy's condition during the last game. Coming to this hospital is probably like coming home. The skinny patient stood there awkwardly, body rigid, unsure what to do next. One chain was gone, but something far stronger held him in place, Lucy's grip on his wrist. In those few seconds, his nerves seemed to go numb, his arm losing all feeling. Lu Ce exhaled slowly, feeling the raging power within him subside, bringing a sense of relief. He released the patient's hand. Who are you? Perhaps the intense external stimulus allowed the patient to momentarily break free from his chaotic mind, regaining a sliver of sanity. I'm your fellow patient, Lu Ce replied, his own mental state no less confused. The conversation remained disjointed. What's your name? I'm Guo Dagong. Patient. It was a normal enough name, but somehow, it felt incredibly wrong. I'm Long Wu. Lu Ce hadn't even asked, but Long Wu blurted it out, almost shouting, as if suddenly remembering his own name. But the clarity in his eyes quickly faded, replaced once again by confusion and frenzy. His newly freed hand began to twitch. But now, instead of attacking the nearby Lu Ce, he started swinging the remaining chain, striking the walls and floor. He looked like he was throwing a tantrum. ***, breakfast time is over. Please return to the designated correction area. ***, breakfast time is over. The game announcement blared, echoing through the prison-like hospital. Oh, the bell rang. Time to head back, I guess. Lu Ce muttered to himself, ignoring the relapsing patient behind him, and strolled out. Suddenly, just as he reached the doorway, a loud thud echoed from behind. Leave. Turning back slowly, Lu Ce saw Long Wu slumped on the floor. His eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging, face purple. He'd smashed his head against the floor, blood trickling from his forehead. Coupled with his tattered clothes and numerous scars, he looked like someone who had been imprisoned and tortured for a decade. Seeing Lu Ce turn back, he gritted his teeth, forcing out a few more words. Leave, get out of here. If you don't leave, you'll become like me. Lu Ce was silent for a few seconds, then bent down slightly, looking at Long Wu. A strange smile slowly spread across his mask. Chapter 34, Breakfast is over, and nobody got their meds. Two halves. He spoke in a playful tone. Mister, what difference is there between us, now? You'll be entertaining me again at lunch, right? His voice was like a chilling stream of water poured over Long Wu's head, sending an inexplicable shiver down his spine. Lu Ce straightened up and walked out of the room. Ellipsis. Bang. Asterisk. With a loud crash, the doors slammed shut, and everyone was back in the initial room, all five of them. But the expressions on their faces were grim. It seemed none of them had made much progress in the game. The only female player was pale, clearly frightened. The large man from before was injured. His entire right arm was bloody, crudely bandaged with his shirt. Blood still seeped through. All right, players, the first game session is over. How are you all adjusting? Tom's mechanical voice filled the room. He was also present. You can briefly discuss and share your experiences too. Prepare for the next meal. Of course, if any of you believe you've identified the most severely ill patient, you can tell me at any time. You are now free to interact. After speaking, Tom rolled on his treads to a corner and went still, as if powering down. Damn it, this freaking game. The large man roared, forehead slick with sweat, clutching his bloody arm. What is this place? They call this a hospital. Those things aren't even human. His curses were laced with fear. After entering his assigned room, he had focused solely on the mission, wanting to quickly administer the meds and progress. He hadn't taken the tormented patient seriously. When the patient refused to take the medication, he tried to force-feed him. That's when he realized what he was dealing with. These wretched patients were like caged tigers, exploding with sudden ferocity. The large man had no chance to fight back. If not for his decent physique and regular exercise, allowing him to escape, he might have lost his life. Yeah, their physical abilities are beyond human, Ju Tian agreed. It's hell mode, this level of difficulty is to be expected. Be careful. At least they're chained, and we have the meds. I suggest we share any information we've gathered. I'll go first. I noticed something strange. My patient initially resisted the medication, but after I talked to him for a while, he suddenly became frantic, demanding the pills. The woman, her face still pale, added, yes, the patient I encountered also seemed to have some kind of mania, refusing to eat or take the meds. But after a while, he suddenly started yelling for them and swallowed them all down. It was very strange. And after taking the meds, the manic behavior subsided, but he became completely incoherent, impossible to question. Suddenly, Kirk stood up. I have nothing to say, I just have a question. He looked at Lucy E., who was lying on the floor. Do you know that, besides your patients, none of the others in this entire hospital received their medication? Did you eat them all, Mr. Red Mask? Kirk's last two sentences were in Chinese. Everyone froze, then stared in shock, wondering what had transpired between the two. Chapter 35. The patient seemed more rational than him, the meds aren't a key item. Part 1. The room went dead silent. Nobody expected this, some kind of internal squabble, especially with the mission going absolutely nowhere. Zhu Tian paused for a few beats, his brain struggling to process the information. What did he mean, eaten them all? Trying to defuse the situation, Zhu Tian asked, Mr. Kirk, what do you mean by that? Exactly what I said, Kirk replied curtly. I never thought I'd see someone with the ability to eat as their in-game power. It's just, I think it's completely obstructing our progress. Kirk's face was tight with anger, the usual rationality and arrogance gone. A closer look revealed a scratch on his cheek. That was courtesy of patient Long Lu, who, deprived of his Yu Sheng shredded pork, had clawed a piece of loose stone from the floor and thrown it at Kirk. Zhu Tian glanced between the two men, still lost. He decided to contact the external staff through his livestream, they were watching him after all. Staff, Zhu Tian, he literally ate all the delivered items in this hospital. Staff, not just the medicine, but the food too. All of it. Staff, we've calculated a total of 112 portions. That's physically impossible for a human. The sheer volume exceeds any competitive eating world record. Staff, we suspect it's his supernatural ability. Incredibly powerful and unique, though seemingly useless so far. Staff, one more thing, Zhu Tian. Whatever you do, do not antagonize him. Do not antagonize that man. Staff, his combat strength is terrifying. Huh. Zhu Tian stared at the scrolling text, his mind reeling. His expression mirrored Kirk's when he'd first encountered Lucy E. Brain freeze jutsu. Seriously, he ate everything. That stuff was edible. Wasn't he worried about, dying? Was this some kind of power test? What's the story? Why did he eat it? Why all of it? Was there a trigger? Staff, unfortunately, Zhu Tian, there's no story, no why. Staff, if there was, it's just that he kept saying he was hungry, wanted to eat, so he ate it all. Utterly absurd. Staff, our behavioral analysts are on it, but they can't figure out his motives. They suspect he might be mentally unstable. Staff, the patients in his ward seem more rational by comparison. Remarkably, they've even had 2 instances of logical conversation with him. Something none of you players have managed. Staff, it's a shame, though. The patients were rational, but he wasn't. No meaningful progress was made. Zhu Tian's brow furrowed. He couldn't make heads or tails of this. No motive, no reason, yet relatively positive results. The patients were more rational. They actually had intelligent exchanges with him. Was there something more to this? His experience in the field, from before he was selected for this special task force, taught him things weren't always what they seemed. Following the rules, doing everything by the book, often led to failure. In his experience, it was the people who didn't seem to play by the rules, the unconventional ones, who often achieved surprisingly good outcomes. He couldn't figure out Lucy's situation, or find a reasonable explanation. Chapter 35. The patient seemed more rational than him, the meds aren't a key item. Part 2. Zhu Tian's eyebrows shot up. This was the first time he'd seen combat strength described as terrifying. Finally, the prone figure of Lucy spoke, breaking Zhu Tian's train of thought. Oh, it's you, beggar man. Still haven't gotten your grub, huh? Lucy spoke words only the two of them seemed to understand, sprawled comfortably on the floor. The large man and the woman stood by, bewildered, wondering what the hell was going on. Kirk, his usual arrogance gone, said through gritted teeth, those meds are for the mentally ill, not for you to eat. You've eaten so much, you're clearly not thinking straight. If you're not right in the head, just quit. This game isn't for you. It's not my fault if you didn't get any food. It's my skill that I got some. Lucy continued his nonsensical ramblings. Enough. Kirk exploded. Used to being in control, he'd never felt so helpless, like he was talking to a lunatic. Do you have any idea? With those meds, I could have made real progress. I was this close to controlling him. This hellish game wasn't inherently dangerous, you made it dangerous. I don't know if you're playing dumb, or if you're actually crazy. Those meds are key items for clearing the game. You're hindering our progress, increasing the difficulty of a hellish game. You're going to get us all killed. Either straighten up, or get out. Get out of this game. Suddenly, Lucy lifted his head slightly, looking at him. Sharp, piercing light seemed to emanate from the red mask. Kirk felt like he was being stared down by a predator, his mind snapping into focus. Lucy spoke slowly. How do you know those meds are for clearing the game? Who told you that? Everyone's eyes snapped towards Lucy, lying on the floor. He was talking sense. This was the first time Lucy had uttered anything meaningful, sounding like a normal player. Kirk's brain stuttered. Zhu Tian also thought back. The game's description never mentioned anything about the medication. The information that the meds could alleviate symptoms was written on the meal trays, right next to the unidentifiable slop they called food. It was part of the environment, but they knew nothing about the medicine's actual purpose, how it worked, or what it treated. Even Kirk had been skeptical from the beginning, preferring to use his own abilities. But in the end, they all just accepted it. Lucy continued, his voice firm, those meds aren't game items. The words hung in the air like thunder. Everyone fell silent. Even Tom, the tin can robot in the corner, swiveled its head to look. Kirk's brow furrowed, deep in thought. Everyone was thinking. Zhu Tian began, so you're saying. They're not game items, Lucy repeated, then lay back down. That was my breakfast. Man, I'm hungry again. When's lunch? Chapter 36, Restoration, Growth. The Terrifying Ability of the Gluttony Mask Part 1. Fuck. You suck. $$. Kirk exploded, his carefully constructed composure shattering. He'd never met anyone like this. He'd actually started to listen, thinking maybe, just maybe, this guy had some unconventional insight. Then, just as he was getting serious, the lunatic asks, "That's breakfast?" Like it wasn't his last meal. Was he still delusional? What the hell was wrong with him? Kirk choked back a mouthful of blood, his face turning purple as he pointed at Lucy, a torrent of curses dying on his lips. He couldn't even formulate a coherent insult. Investigating an asylum, only to have a teammate go insane, how was this even possible? Lucy lay on the ground, looking up at the furious Kirk as if seeing him for the first time. Oh my God, what's wrong, poor Tom? Did that white cat toy with your affections again? I am Tom, a voice corrected. And I am not poor. It's the great Tom. From the corner, the metal robot, which had briefly turned its head, added its 2 cents before facing the wall again. The female player lowered her head, a splitting headache forming. The big guy started cursing again, resuming his bandaging after his outburst caused another 2 wounds to open. The whole scene descended into farce. The serious atmosphere evaporated, replaced by the ravings of a madman. No one bothered to ponder the medicine situation anymore. It was all just gibberish. Zhu Tian sighed. He'd initially thought Lucy's eccentricities might be genius in disguise. Now, it seemed best to abandon that train of thought. He didn't want to get sucked into a crazy person's logic and die in this hellish game. This team was a handful. Still, remembering his colleagues' words about Lucy's top-tier combat abilities, and knowing infighting was a death sentence, he stepped in to mediate. Everyone, calm down. Let's focus on the game, not each other. Red shirt flashy man, Lucy said, as if just recognizing Zhu Tian. Zhu Tian's eye twitched. Seriously, wasn't this guy supposed to be out of it? How did he remember that ridiculous nickname so clearly? Go fuck away from me. Kirk snarled, abandoning any further attempts at communication. He stalked off and sat apart from the group. This team was a joke. These useless people were either dead weight or, like that lunatic, actively detrimental. He'd have to plan his next move alone. Lu Zi remained sprawled on the floor, seemingly oblivious, lost in his chaotic world. His red shirt flashy man comment had been deliberate, a small gesture of responsibility towards the team. A signal, he wasn't completely lost. He couldn't suppress his chaotic thoughts entirely, he needed them to access the gluttony mosque's power. So he let himself act irrationally, indulging his impulses. But a core of rationality remained. He couldn't afford to become a puppet of the mask, a permanent lunatic. Whether anyone received or understood his signal was another matter. He was too busy enjoying the power. The gluttony mosque's side effects were severe, but its power boost, at least for now, far surpassed the greed mask. 112 portions of food, 700 unknown pills, a massive influx of energy. He felt like a walking powder keg, ready to explode with power. That earlier display of slicing through metal was child's play. The surging energy expanded within him, every bit absorbed, mending his body, increasing his strength. Earlier, during Long Wu's attack, Lu Zi had allowed himself to be mauled, earning 4 or 5 suffering points. But now, despite his torn clothes, no one noticed any injuries. They were gone. The energy within him possessed insane regenerative abilities, instantly closing external wounds. And his strength had jumped from 24 to 25. In fact, all his stats, except spirit, had increased by 1. Not from allocation, but from the gluttony mask. A mere trickle of its power had already yielded such results. Chapter 36, Restoration, Growth. The terrifying ability of the gluttony mask Part 2. He would savor this mask. As long as he maintained a baseline of sanity, the superficial chaos didn't matter. And, strangely, he felt the disordered thinking actually clarified some things, like the pills, like these people. The arguing subsided. Lunch was still some time away. Kirk sat alone, lost in thought. Lu Zi lay motionless on the ground. No one knew what these two perfect clearance players were planning. Zhu Tian tried several times to start a conversation, hoping to glean information and discuss future plans. But responses were scarce. The only consensus from breakfast was that the patients seemed calmer after taking their meds, and they all insisted they weren't sick. Classic mental illness symptoms. Useless information. After a moment of hesitation, Zhu Tian shared his own observation. My patient, besides claiming he wasn't sick, he also said he was innocent. I don't know if it's helpful, but there it is. The big guy and the woman didn't react, but both Kirk and the prone Lu Zi subtly twitched their ears. Lunchtime is approaching. You know the drill. Get ready. Time was up. The doors opened again, and the robot Tom rolled out. Lunch has begun. Players, commence the game. Kirk slowly opened his eyes and walked towards the door. In the history of international medicine, there was no definitive scale for the severity of mental illness. Yet here they were, tasked with finding the most severely ill patient, while all the patients claimed perfect health. It seemed a change in approach was necessary. He glanced back at Lu Zi. Chapter 37, The Asylum is a Prison. I Love You Part 1. I need to warn you. Kirk muttered, turning back to Lu Zi. He'd planned to lay down the law, make it clear Lu Zi couldn't interfere this time. But when he turned around, Lu Zi was gone. Vanished. Kirk had been the first to head out. Lu Zi had been lying on the floor motionless when the game announced lunchtime. Where the hell had he gone? A terrible premonition gripped him. Then, from behind, came a cacophony of clattering. Once unleashed, Lu Zi's appetite was unstoppable. He'd waited long enough for lunch and wasn't about to hang around. The moment the announcement came, he'd bolted like a cheetah, a one-man food inhalation machine. It wasn't eating, it was shoveling. One tray after another disappeared at an alarming rate. By the time Kirk processed what was happening, Lu Zi had already demolished a dozen plates and was showing no signs of slowing down. As if terrified someone might steal his food. Honestly, I saw this coming. It's a death game, but why is it so hilarious? Ha 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 ha. Poor Kirk, I'm dying of laughter. Mask Bro just shows up and wrecks everything. No mercy. The other players were stunned. They'd heard about Lu Zi's legendary appetite, but seeing it in action was another thing entirely. Jaws dropped. Zhu Tian gulped. Now he understood why people considered Lu Zi a force to be reckoned with, someone to avoid provoking. With that speed and ferocity, Zhu Tian was half convinced he might be next on the menu. Scared. He won't eat me, will he? JPG. Stop. Kirk shrieked, abandoning all pretense of dignity. He scrambled forward, desperate to salvage something. He managed to grab a single plate of pills, clutching it protectively. Everything else was gone. The actual patients were probably wondering why they were suddenly starving in their own asylum. Kirk, clutching his precious pills, shot Lu Zi a wary look. This time, he kept his mouth shut. He genuinely feared Lu Zi might pounce and try to eat him. He hurried off to Long Lu's room, prioritizing information gathering. The other players, clearly now classifying Lu Zi as an anomaly, avoided him like the plague and scurried to their assigned rooms. The patients seemed almost normal by comparison. The hell in this death game appeared to be concentrated in one man. Lu Zi entered his assigned room, finding Long Wu writhing on the floor like he'd been tortured. At the sound of the door, he roared and lunged, then stopped abruptly. Not from the chains, but from recognizing Lu Zi. His eyes cleared, his aggression fading, replaced by an unsettling docility. "Hello there, beautiful lady," Lu Zi said politely, gently closing the door. "Why did you change my gender?" Long Wu thought, sitting dazedly on the floor, his spirit seemingly drained, like a dried-out fish. He knew arguing with this man was pointless. Lu Zi stood by the door. "What did you want to tell me? And by the way, do you have any food? That guy who invited me earlier didn't give me nearly enough. So rude. I'm still quite upset about it. I won't forgive him." Chapter 37, The Asylum is a Prison. I Love You Part 2. Long Wu remained silent, sitting on the ground. "That guy was also me," he thought. "And you're still not full. You probably devoured my lunch too." Then, unexpectedly, Long Wu spoke. Why me?" "Because with great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man," Lu Zi replied nonsensically, patting Long Wu on the shoulder. "Remember that, Peter." "What the hell? I'm so confused." "Spider-Man. Seriously, Master just gives random, irrelevant answers. But doesn't it seem like the patients are more lucid around him?" Long Wu's lips twitched. He seemed to be getting used to Lu Zi's brand of crazy. "What are you really doing here?" he asked. "If you're insane, every room in this prison is solitary. If not, why torment me? I'm innocent. It's the others inside who are guilty." Long Wu's words sent shockwaves through the livestream. Whoa, huge info dump. What? I thought this was an asylum, not a prison. What does he mean, the others inside? He's giving away so much more than Kirk got. Is this how crazy people communicate? I hope he understands. Lu Zi leaned on Long Wu's shoulder, the expression on his mask strangely serious, at winking face as if deep in thought. "So you're saying, those people inside, they'll give me food, right?" Long Wu. He wanted to scream, but he held back. "Yes. Thanks for the tip." Lu Zi stood up and headed straight for the food, without a backward glance. After he left, Long Wu buried his face in his hands, gasping for breath. "But their sins, they've atoned for them here, haven't they?" Lu Zi continued down the hallway, all the way to the end of the circular ward, where Tom was stationed. He paused, looked at Tom, and said, "Dude, you smell delicious." Tom. Without another word, Lu Zi pushed open the door next to Tom and stepped inside. Dim lights illuminated blood-red walls and floor. A figure sat on the ground, slowly raising its head to reveal a dark face. Deep-set eyes, a wide, almost smiling mouth, revealing broken and jagged teeth. "So, you're one of them. I've been expecting you. Where's my food? Even that shit they usually serve has stopped coming." He stared intently at Lu Zi, a chilling laugh escaping his lips. "I know what you're here for, but..." He was cut short. "I love you," Lu Zi said. The figure. Chapter 38, The Great Masked Man begins a new round of torment Part 1. What did you say?" the inner ward patient asked, suspicion clouding his face. He hadn't quite processed Lu Zi's words. Lu Zi, his mind now surprisingly clear, repeated calmly, "I love you." Huh. O_O. The confession stunned the man into silence. His mouth hung open, as if words were caught in his throat. His previously deranged grin and twisted expression vanished, replaced by utter bewilderment. "You aren't this," he stammered. "Genius. I didn't see that coming. Starts with the ultimate move, a total stun. Looks like Long Wu was right, Masked Man is just here to mess with a different set of victims. Kirk, take notes. Isn't your skill supposed to be mental interference? Behold, true psychological warfare. I thought this patient seemed somewhat sane. Not anymore." The livestream viewers, momentarily forgetting the deadly nature of the game, found the whole thing hilarious. The patient, however, did not. He stared at Lu Zi with a look of disgust, finally managing to choke out, "Why?" Lu Zi closed the door casually. "My dear boy, you must understand, true love needs no reason." The patient's carefully planned speech evaporated. He mumbled, "Love needs no reason. Wait, why the hell am I even thinking about this?" He looked up at Lu Zi, fear creeping into his eyes. "Are you crazy? Are you the psychopath?" "Technically, my friend, you're the one in the asylum," Lu Zi replied earnestly. The patient. "Well, when you put it like that." He shook his head violently, slapping his own face. Why was he getting sucked into this lunatic's logic? He'd been anticipating a new plaything, now he felt a prickle of unease. This guy was different from the others who'd come before. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Shouldn't we introduce ourselves first?" Lu Zi responded politely. I'm not sure who I am anymore." The patient's gaze became unfocused. "But you can call me Wang Ao." "Well, hello Mr. Zhang, I'm Batman. I am Batman." Lu Zi deepened his voice, mimicking the gravelly tone of the DC superhero, as if struggling to clear his throat. "What the hell?" Wang Ao's voice jumped an octave. "What is all this nonsense?" He pounded his head. Had he missed 2 doses of his meds? Was his condition worsening? His mind felt foggy, like he was hallucinating. "All right, let's get down to business," Lu Zi said. "Oh, okay," Wang Ao responded automatically, his sinister expression returning. "So, where's the food?" Lu Zi asked. Wang Ao stared blankly, his carefully constructed persona crumbling. "The food," Lu Zi repeated, spreading his hands as if questioning his host's hospitality. "The food, they didn't bring any today, for some reason," Wang Ao replied innocently, then his eyes widened. "Wait, shouldn't you be bringing me food?" "Why?" Lu Zi asked, as if the question was absurd. Chapter 38, The Great Masked Man begins a new round of torment Part 2. As the saying goes, confidence is contagious. Wang Ao, completely baffled, actually started to consider the question. "Yeah, why? Asterisk. Didn't you call me here?" Lu Zi pressed. "When did I?" A few simple sentences from Lu Zi, and Wang Ao felt like he'd aged a decade. His mind was a scrambled mess. "No, I can't think about this." Suddenly, Wang Ao's eyes snapped open. His already fragile mental state teetered on the edge of a breakdown. He gritted his teeth, a ferocious aura erupting from him. He stomped his feet, rising to his full height. Bloody gums were exposed, the muscles in his face twitching, his entire body coiled with tension. He seemed in far better physical condition than Long Wu. He also had fewer restraints, only a single thick chain shackling his left leg, allowing for much greater freedom of movement. He pointed a black-nailed finger at Lu Zi. "Listen here, kid, stop playing games. I'm warning you." In a blink, Lu Zi was in his face, close enough to feel each other's breath. Wang Ao froze. No one had ever dared get this close to him. Was this guy suicidal? His pupils contracted, violence surging through him. He prepared to strike. Then, a powerful hand clamped down on his shoulder. "Mr. Lu, what's the rush? Sit down, let's talk." An overwhelming, irresistible force pressed down on him, like a mountain. Wang Ao's legs buckled, and he crashed to his knees. "Oh, why are you kneeling?" "There's no need to be so formal," Lu Zi said cheerfully, settling down cross-legged in front of him. "Oh asterisk hollow down pointing triangle asterisk." Wang Ao's lips trembled as he stared at Lu Zi, speechless. Is this guy human? Was that even human strength? Asterisk. The bloodshot rage in his eyes faded, replaced by a stunned calm. Any thought of attacking vanished. Perfect, just as expected, his eyes cleared instantly. Ha 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 ha. Exactly like Long Wu. Long Wu, better him than me, buddy. Enjoy the ride. Purely in terms of compatibility, this is kind of broken, isn't it? Welcome to another round of torment, courtesy of the great masked man. What's wrong, Mr. Lee? Why are you still kneeling? Lu Zi asked, sitting inches away. Dude, even if you can't remember my name, can you at least stick to one last name? How many different surnames have I had now? Wang Ao thought, his mind too scrambled to function. Talking wasn't working, and fighting seemed like a bad idea. He needed to take control of the situation, get back on script. Ironically, thanks to Lu Zi's overwhelming psychological presence, Wang Ao, a certifiable lunatic, was now resorting to strategy. I know why you're here. You have questions for me, right? He rushed on, before Lu Zi could derail the conversation again. You want to know who's the sickest person in this asylum, don't you? Chapter 39, The Broken Patient and the Bloody Game, Part 1. Wang Ao spoke with a slight tilt of his head, watching Lu Zi from the corner of his eye, a hint of smugness in his expression. In his experience, no one who came to him didn't ask this question. No matter how crazy or erratic, he didn't believe anyone could resist. I can tell you the truth. But only if you play a game with me. Back in the observation room, Zhu Tian and the other staff, glued to the players' live streams, were buzzing with excitement. They'd flocked to Lu Zi's feed, stunned by this unexpected turn of events. Wait, what? It's that easy. He's just going to tell him. I'm starting to think this patient isn't even sick. He seems the most normal of the bunch. Everything's relative. Compared to Masked Man, everyone looks normal. But why would the game NPC just give away such crucial information? Has he met players like this before? That's a chilling thought. Everyone was thrilled by Wang Ao's offer. Except one person. Shouldn't I ask a doctor who's the sickest? What's it got to do with me? Lu Zi asked, picking at his ear. You don't want to know. Wang Ao was flabbergasted. He was now certain this guy was unlike anyone he'd encountered before. He asked tentatively, Dude, are you new here? Are you going to be staying with us? If so, everyone gets their own room. Why are you here with me? There was a note of desperation in his voice, almost a whine. He'd endured so much torment in this place, he hadn't expected to be tortured by a newcomer. Well, if you insist on me asking a question, Lu Zi said, stroking his chin thoughtfully. What? Wang Ao's eyes lit up again, a predatory gleam returning. Lu Zi's words brought a collective sigh of relief from the livestream viewers. They'd feared he'd truly lost his mind, rejecting a clear path to victory. Then, to everyone's anticipation, the gluttony mask on Lu Zi's face shifted into an expression of deep thought. He leaned closer to Wang Ao, and asked conspiratorially, Have you ever considered something? What? The phrase, 5 words, is actually 3 words. 5, what? Wang Ao's brain stalled. He couldn't process the statement. How can 5 words be 3 words? Wait. He counted on his fingers, then looked up at Lu Zi, a pained expression on his face. Well, yeah, when you say it like that, 5 words is 3 words. So that means 6 words is also 3 words, right? Wang Ao. Therefore, 6 equals 5. His face went numb. He'd been in this place a long time, but this was the first time he'd desperately wanted to leave. He couldn't take it anymore. Chapter 39, The Broken Patient and the Bloody Game, Part 2. Lu Zi, ignoring Wang Ao's reaction, continued his rambling monologue. And following that logic, 7 also equals 5, 8 equals 5. 1 equals 2 equals 3 equals 4, equals 0. I've solved the grand unified theory of mathematics. So, eating 10 bowls of rice is the same as eating 3 bowls, which is the same as eating 0 bowls, which means one haven't eaten at all. Right. I'm kind of hungry. Suddenly, Wang Ao lunged forward, grasping Lu Zi's hand with genuine concern. Dude, I think you're really sick. Sicker than me. They didn't bring my meds today, for some reason. So irresponsible. Tonight you can have my pills. You really need them. First Kong Rong offered his pears, now Wang Ao offers his pills. Wang Ao is officially broken. Seriously, what kind of questions are these? I'm convinced Mask Man is just here to play. He's toying with them. Poor Wang Ao. He's been played. First Kirk, then Long Wu, now Wang Ao. Everyone was feeling sorry for Lu Zi's victims. He was the world's leading inducer of sympathy pains. Wait, no. Wang Ao abruptly released Lu Zi's hand, his eyes flashing with violence, confusion, and a flicker of lucidity. I'm the crazy one. Asterisk. What am I doing? Asterisk. Why do I care about his problems? Why do I care what's wrong with him? Asterisk. I need to. Hey. Asterisk. The deranged grin crept back onto his face, a vacant, drooling smile. Sir, I know the answer to your question. I know all the answers. But if you want to know, you have to play a game with me. Finally, Wang Ao's madness asserted itself, breaking free from Lu Zi's bizarre logic. What game? Lu Zi asked, his first real engagement with Wang Ao's offer. A spark of excitement flickered in Wang Ao's eyes. He was back in his element. He pulled a piece of metal from under himself. It was covered in rust, but the edges, despite being chipped and broken, gleamed sharply. Clearly honed and sharpened into a makeshift knife. The metallic glint reflected in Wang Ao's eyes, revealing the true nature of his illness. He looked at Lu Zi. Watch closely. He placed one hand flat on the floor and, with the other, began to furiously weave the metal shard between his fingers. The point danced down, a blur of motion, striking between each finger. A literal dance with a blade. His skill, however, wasn't perfect. The blur of motion was punctuated by the slice of flesh and spurts of blood, eliciting a low moan of pleasure from Wang Ao. The excitement in his eyes intensified. Finally, he stopped. His hand was soaked in blood, staining the floor crimson. He offered the blood-soaked shard to Lu Zi. Your turn. 100 times. He grinned, like a demented Joker from a DC film, relishing his control of the situation. Lu Zi slowly looked up, a wide smile spreading across his mask. He took the bloody shard. I'll say it again, Mr. Chen. I love you. And this time, I mean it. Chapter 40, Let's Make This Game More Interesting, Part 1. Wang Ao barely registered Lu Zi's lunatic ramblings, a manic grin plastered on his face as he watched the red mask and the knife in Lu Zi's hand. This was his sickness, his sin. 100 times. 100 times. They both laughed, locked in a staring contest, their eyes filled with a dark hunger. Lu Zi was surprised to find someone practically begging to be a source of suffering points. Wang Ao, meanwhile, was lost in his own twisted ecstasy. He craved blood, torment, pain, inflicted on others or himself, it didn't matter. He couldn't remember how long he'd been here, but he remembered why. Murder, torture, indiscriminate violence, he'd become a monster. His mental illness had spared him execution, but he'd been locked away for treatment. The treatment, however, was far more terrifying than death, a relentless, year-after-year ordeal. And he loved it. He'd adapted to this place, to his existence. A few times, others had come, seeking information, and he'd subjected them to his games, his torment. He reveled in the cycle of self-harm and inflicting pain on others. Usually, he exploited their weaknesses, using threats and coercion, savoring their fear and helplessness. This time was different. This one was just as sick, and had even managed to unsettle him earlier. But it didn't matter. Once the game began, once the blood flowed, his fear vanished. In fact, having such an unusual victim, watching his pain and struggle, wouldn't that be even more exhilarating? Everyone who came to him wanted something. And anyone who wanted something had a weakness. Slap. Asterisk. Lu Zi slammed his right hand on the floor, fingers spread wide, exposing the gaps between them. He held the metal shard in his left hand, seemingly lost in thought. Then he flipped the shard, offering the handle to Wang Ao. What's wrong? Scared? Wang Ao taunted, a triumphant smirk on his face. He sat back, licking the wounds on his hand. I don't know what your goal is, but I guarantee you won't achieve it if you refuse me. My goal is to spend more time with you, Lu Zi replied, the gluttony mask fixed in its perpetually unserious expression. Any hint of seriousness or tension seemed impossible on that mask. Here you go, Lu Zi said, offering the shard. What? Wang Ao's eyebrow twitched. What do you mean? You said it, you do it, Lucy said with a friendly smile, gesturing towards the sharp edge of the shard. I trust you. You have good technique. 100 times. Wang Ao's lips twitched, then stretched into a wide, manic grin. He burst out laughing. All right, no problem. Chapter 40, Let's make this game more interesting, Part 2. He took the shard, leaned close to Lucy's ear, and whispered, You've got guts, I'll give you that. I love prey like you. I hope you're ready. He pulled back, his eyes fixated on Lucy's mask, watching for any flicker of emotion. Then he raised his hand. With all his strength, he plunged the shard into the back of Lucy's hand. Clang. Asterisk. He hadn't followed the rules of his own game. The shard didn't go between the fingers, it went straight through the flesh. The rusty metal sank deep, blood welling up around it, warm against his palm. He licked his lips, watching Lucy's face, waiting for a reaction. But he was disappointed. The mask remained impassive. No flinching, no trembling, none of the expected responses. Lucy hadn't even moved his hand, no involuntary muscle spasm. His hand remained relaxed. What did that mean? It meant Lucy had completely overridden his biological instincts, suppressed his reflexes. He didn't even seem to care. The smile faltered on Wang Ao's face. Then he heard Lucy speak. 1. His voice was calm, a chilling whisper in the dim room. Suffering chosen, suffering points +2. Closing square bracket. What, are we keeping score? Lucy asked. As the knife stuck. He grabbed Wang Ao's wrist with his other hand, slowly pulling the shard free, along with Wang Ao's hand. How about we make this game more interesting? Lucy didn't wait for a response. As Wang Ao stared, dumbfounded, everything went dark. Lucy's free hand covered his eyes. Ever played this way? Come on, let's continue. Blinded, Wang Ao trembled slightly, a choked laugh escaping his lips. A strange feeling gripped his heart, a confusing mix of emotions. His already fractured mind spiraled further into chaos. Unseen by Wang Ao, Lucy closed his eyes as well. This is getting a little intense. I don't understand what's happening, but I feel really anxious. It's like a psychological duel. A battle of wills. Whoever loses will suffer a complete breakdown of their established patterns of thinking. I think it's called the overlimit effect in psychology. Mask Man didn't fall for his trap. He's using the patient's own methods to break him. All right, Lucy's soft voice broke the silence. 99 more to go. Continue. In the darkness, the command was given, the game restarted.